This young man is no stranger to some of us. He's a dear friend of mine. We were in our company, Excel Communications, back 20-some years ago, came over to a company with and that we just merged with. And I tell you what, no, he is a true superstar. And he's the first SVP Platinum that ACN has. Without further ado, my dear friend, all the way from down south there, can we give Mr. Presley Swagerty a hand? Come on, everybody. Show some love. Hey, I got a few questions I want to ask you because I called some of the leaders and text some of the leaders, and I said, leaders, you know, it's not every day we have the #1 first platinum on our call. And I asked him a week or two ago on the road to the convention, and I know you're fired up, and I know you got a lot of folks coming, and I wanted to ask my leaders, hey guys, give me some questions to ask this guy, because we don't get this all the time. So I just want to do a Q&A with him today because he's came on and talked a lot about different things. So I just want to get a couple of leaders to give a couple of questions. The first question we got was from one of our regional directors in South Carolina, Mr. Curtis Evans. He says, how do you identify leaders? How do you identify leaders?
Well, hey, Curtis, great question. You know, leaders usually identify themselves. You know, you're going to find somebody that, my biggest key is if they start doing something without me, I know that pretty much they're going to be a leader. And understand, leaders don't always identify themselves the first couple of weeks or even the first month or two. Sometimes it takes them a little while to get their motor running and get going. But, you know, when you look down and somebody just continually gets some customers, or they are continually getting a new IBO here or there, you start realizing, hey, this person really wants this. They're working on this. But leaders will identify themselves. Now, you encourage everybody, you work with everybody, and you try to get people going. But when you find a leader, they'll take off by themselves. That's like Al was pointing out, that Mark Dean, that guy I signed up, used car guy, by himself. I mean, you know, I helped him for about 2 weeks, and then he took off by himself, and he's built an organization of 100,000 IBOs, and he's made me $10 million, you know, and they're out there. We just got to find them. And the other key to that deal is one person can change your life if it's the right person. You just got to get your butt out there and keep talking and find them. But you just keep looking, go through, you know, scour through your back office and find people that are working on their own, and then start working with them, start helping them, start connecting with them.
That's a great answer. I had a lady, I know she's on the call, Ms. Leona Pinedo, had a person just signed up, and she's freaking out because the person just showing who this person is. I said, well, that's good. Get them qualified and keep watching, keep working with them. I mean, even what's the old saying in the South? Even a blind dog can find meat every now and then.
Yeah,
buddy. You know, and she's freaking out. He signed up. I said, look, man, let me tell you something. I told her, I've had people I've talked to 2 or 3 years later signed up in the business. I had no idea they signed up. So I caught that. I said, when a fish jumps in your boat and he's flapping, give him some water, sign him up, skin him, eat him, but get them going. I love it.
No,
next question. Go ahead.
You want your organization to get to the size where you don't know people that are coming in. See, that's when you know you're getting somewhere, is when your organization gets that big.
Yeah, and I was sharing with her, you know, some mornings I wake up, I got 7 new IBOs, 9 new. Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay? I told you the other morning, I woke up, I had 7 new IBOs jump in my organization around the world. Do I know who they are? No, but I love them. The whole idea is make sure that they understand what they need to do to build a business. So yeah, thank you, sir. Next question from Mr. Davenport. Antoine Davenport said, sir, question. What was the defining moments in your business that gave you the confidence and the assurance that you can make it to the top of this company or any company?
Well, no, I can tell you that, Al, and it has to do with events, and you know, I'm sure you'll cover it, but we all need to be here on Friday. But my defining moment was, I was at the Anatole. You remember that place, Al? I was at the Anatole here in Dallas at a big event, and I was sitting in the seat out in the group. You know, there's thousands of us. Guys, I can tell you right now, it's a huge ballroom, seated 3,000 or 4,000 people, and I can tell you where I was sitting. Because that day I made my decision that I was going to be up on that stage. I didn't want to just be sitting out there in that chair It's all right sitting in that chair a little bit, but you want to get up and you want to walk across that stage for getting promoted or making money or doing whatever. I wanted to be one of the top leaders. I wanted to be one of the top money earners. I wanted to be somebody that could talk about how this business had changed my life. And that was the defining moment for me. I'm going to tell you right now, everything you're going to learn this weekend is good. All the trainings are going to be awesome. Visiting with people in the lobby is going to be great. But until you make a decision, and I mean, it's got to be a heart and a head decision, until you make a decision that you're going to do this big, you're just kind of playing with it. And if that's your goal, if you just want to make a few $100s, hey, you can play with this and do that. But for those on here that want to make serious money, Al Thomas kind of money, guys, you got to make a decision. And I made my decision sitting in that ballroom at the Anatole Hotel, and that was my defining moment in this business.
I remember you was telling the story. You sat behind me when they gave us out Rolexes at one convention.
Oh, you know, guys, if you're new on here and didn't hear me talk, Al Thomas is one of my idols. I mean, he is one of my role models. I love this guy. I've learned so much from this guy. You're blessed to have him as your leader. But I was sitting at a convention and Al was in front of me with the previous company we were with, and they were handing out Rolexes. And, you know, I'm in awe. You know, I was in awe at that point in time. But I remember Al, he didn't even know I was behind him, didn't even know who I was at that point in time. But he looked at whoever he was sitting next to, and he goes, "They don't know, but I mow the yard in one nicer than that one." And that stuck with me. I have not forgotten that. That was a long time ago, decades ago now, Al.
Yeah, that was my little Rolex. I had all iced out with diamonds on it. When I bought it from the jeweler here in town, I wouldn't even shake people's hands with the Rolex on. I shake with the other hand because I didn't want them to flash that Rolex until I got comfortable. And that's a mental thing too, you guys. So mentally, are you prepared to do these things to get the things you really say you want? You know, it's a sacrifice, but look at the blessings on the other side of it. All right, let's move on to the next question. Next question is, how do you use social media to grow your business over your career in network marketing or MLM?
Well, I'm probably the wrong guy to ask that question to, because let me say this again. I'm 65 on the 20th. So I'm not a huge social media guy. I've started using it more in the last few years. What I use social media for is, you know, I'll do little talks on TikTok or do a few little things that I've been taught how to do. But if somebody private messaged me, I mean, I just try to develop a little relationship. I try to, you know, to talk to them. And then, you know, I want to get them on the phone at some point in time where I can actually talk. I've built 98% of my business, guys, just meeting people, talking to people, getting to know people, asking for referrals, you know, working through people. You get somebody in and they don't do much, but they get you one more guy, and then that person doesn't do much, but they get you one more gal, and she doesn't do much, but she gets you one more person that turns out to be a stud. And I always tell people, drive through people. And if you keep driving through people, get somebody under. So I always say you don't really have an IBO until you got an IBO that has an IBO under them. I mean, that's such a key, that you want to get people under people. And then when that person gets in, get somebody under them. And if you keep driving down, you never really run out of a warm market, because everybody you get in, their warm market kind of turns into yours. Now, all that said, my gosh, Al, you know, Randy Hedge, Cowboy. I mean, he is doing social media like crazy right now and having lots of success at it. So it certainly is out there. I'm just not the guy to ask that question to.
Yeah, it's funny because you and I come from the same cloth a little bit. And I'm eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly, but people think that's so funny. We could still be on top of network marketing by doing it that way. Yeah, it still works, folks. It still works. So thank you for that answer, question. That was from Mr. James Clark. Thank you so much, Mr. Clark, for the question. Next question is Mr. Brian Baker here. It's two parts. What are some of the qualities and characteristics, habits, and actions that you look for in a person to identify them as a solid leader versus someone who talks a good game? It's a good question. Did you hear me?
No, you cut out a little bit, Al. Ask that one more time,
okay,
if you would, please.
Sure. What are some of the qualities, characteristics, habits, and actions that you look for in a person to identify them as a solid leader versus someone who's just talking a good game? Did you get me? Uh-oh. Did you guys hear me okay, Miss Kathleen Williams? Jackie Black, you guys hear me okay? I think he's froze. I think he froze.
All right, I changed connections. Let's try it again, Al. I don't know what happened.
All right, let me try it again. Okay, what are some of the qualities, characteristics, and habits and actions that you look for in a person to identify them as a solid leader versus someone who just talks a good game?
Well, I'm sure you're like me, Al. I have people come up to me all the time and they tell me, boy, you watch this, I'm going to kill this. You watch this, I'm going to be the top money earner in this place. You watch out, Presley. I'm after you, baby. And, you know, my whole thing is I just go, I hope you do. Just show me. You know,
That's right.
Leaders are not going to just talk a good talk. They're going to walk a good walk. And like I said a while ago, everybody doesn't start out like a house of fire. So if somebody doesn't start out real quick, don't give up on them, because some people are just slow starters. Some people got to get their mind around everything. Some people want to know all the details before they get going. They're just kind of detail oriented. You know, with me, I was just ignorance on fire. So I just took off. You know, I didn't know what in the heck I was talking about, but I was excited, and it's amazing. You get people in if you're excited. But, you know, the main thing is look what they're doing. I mean, if they're plugging in, if they're getting customers, if they're showing the plan, if they're doing stuff that you're talking to them about how to be successful, if they're doing that, then chances are you got a pretty solid leader there. If they're sitting on their butt on the couch watching TV all the time, doing absolutely nothing, and every time you look in your back office, say they have no customers, no business partners, then I don't care how much they talk, they're not a leader. You know, you got to find people that'll do something. Actions speak louder than words in our business. I mean, it's just, you got to do something.
That's right. I'm told a boy the other day, I said, I'm from Missouri. I'm from the show me state. You got to show me. You got to be IOF. Write that down. IOF, ignorance on fire. You ain't got to know it all. Just do it. Okay. Part two, Mr. Brian Baker's question. How can you help develop them, or do leaders generally develop on their own?
Well, obviously you can assist people. And when you find somebody that's putting out some effort, I mean, you go hip to hip with them. I tell people all the time, if you want to run, I'll run stride for stride with you. If you want to walk, I'll walk stride for stride with you. But if you want to sit down, I'm leaving. I mean, you know,
I like that.
You know, I tell people I run with the runners, I walk with the walkers, but I don't sit with the sitters. I mean, and you know, that's how you work trying to find leaders. I mean, you just, somebody that's doing something, even if it's just a little bit, encourage them, pat them on the back, tell them what a great job they're doing, offer to help them do more. But I'll just say this, it's all about people doing something. That's what's going to make the leader. And then if you jump in with them, and I'll tell you, the word let's is so powerful in our business. You know, instead of, you know, I see people all the time, they sign somebody up, they give them a little 20-minute training, they pat them on the back and they say, okay, go do it. Guys, that ain't the way this business works. You know, the Mark Dean guy that I told you put in 100,000 IBOs. You realize the first 2 weeks I was with him every day. We'd meet at Starbucks. We'd talk about who we were going to go show the plan to. I was in the car with him. I mean, the first 2 or 3 days, I showed the plan every time. This was before you could do videos and all that stuff. I was showing the plan, had me a little notebook, flipping pages, and I showed the plan for 2 or 3 days. And then the next 2 or 3 days, I said, okay, you do the first part of it, and then I'll do the second part of it. So for the next 2 or 3 days, you know, he did the first part, I did the second part. And then after those 2 or 3 days, I said, okay, listen, you do the second part, I'll do the first part. So we did that 2 or 3 days. And then after this been about a week and a half, I said, okay, you do the whole thing. I'll just be there to answer some questions at the end. And he did it. We did it that way a while. And then about 2 weeks in, I said, brother, you know as much as I do. And I took our list with the people we're going to talk to that day, and I tore it in half, and I handed him half of it, and I took half of it. I said, you go on your own now. You know, you help your kids to tie their shoes when they're 2 years old. But if you're still tying their shoes when they're 16, something ain't right, guys. So what I figured out real quick is when they're a new baby, I'm there. We got to get in the car with them or on the phone with them, or on the Zoom with them. We got to be helping them a lot right then. But you got to also be transitioning yourself out of the picture. See, we're independent business owners, not dependent business owners. So I don't mind helping them for a while. And some people it's 2 days, some people it's 2 weeks, some people it may be a month or two. But at some point in time, I got to say, okay, you go do this now. Now, here's what we try to do a lot of times that we screw ourselves up on this. Boy, we get a handful of people and we just keep looking for that leader and looking for that leader. And, you know, guys, go sponsor some more people. You're going to figure out who the leader is. I mean, I think sometimes we try to do other things instead of doing what we need to do. And that is each one of us, me, Al, all of you, we all need to be personally recruiting people. And if we're out personally recruiting people, you're going to figure out who your leaders are. You're going to figure out who you need to work with. You just need a bigger team, and you need to get out there and keep recruiting, keep recruiting, keep recruiting. Just like Al. Al and I got hundreds of thousands of people on our team. I'm talking about IBOs. But I'm still recruiting all the time.
That's right. That's right.
A new leg. I want a new leg. I mean, you know, I started, you know, I got to be that platinum. Well, I've started me another leg now, and I'm working on another leg. I mean, if you're wanting to make big money, and I'm assuming if you're spending this time with us, you're wanting to make big money, then it's about personally recruiting is the deal, guys. Personal recruiting will fix every problem you have with network marketing. I mean, it just does, you know. So if your business ain't growing fast enough, go personally recruit. If your residual ain't big enough, go personally recruit. If you want more bonus money, go personally recruit. I don't care what your problem is, go personally recruit, because another thing that's going to happen is your team's going to see you doing that, and they're going to say, oh, that's how you do this business. If all you're doing is sitting around and trying to manage people, and you never bring anybody to a meeting, you never get anybody on a Zoom, you never do any of that stuff, then your team starts getting in management mode. And once your team starts getting in management mode and everybody's managing, there ain't nobody building, and you ain't going nowhere. This is all about us getting out there and finding new blood and putting that new blood in. We do a meeting here in Dallas, and when I bring a guest in, me personally bring a guest in, I take that guest around and I introduce him to every leader I got out there, because you know why? I say, hey, this is my prospect I brought tonight. I want them to see that I'm doing what I'm telling them to do, and that should be what you're doing as well. If you're not doing it, baby, don't expect your team to do it. It's that simple. Let me ask you this question. Would you be real excited to have you on your team? Answer that one truthfully. Would you be real excited to have you on your team? If you can say yes, then baby, you're doing it. If you say no, not really, you ain't doing it. So, I mean, I'm just being straight, Al.
Oh, I'm writing that one down. Would you be excited to have you on your team? Folks, would you have you on your team? If not, that means you haven't developed yet. You got to keep going. I love what he just talked about. I call it on-the-job training. On the job. Look, you're on the job. You're learning as you go. You learn as you build this. You know, there's old saying in the South, the cream always rises to the top. You know, don't worry about the news. Just keep loading up the wagons. In other words, just keep recruiting. Don't worry about the small stuff. He says recruit, keep recruiting, recruit personally. Think about it. Don't get mad at me, because when I said y'all get mad at me, but when somebody else said, oh my God, it's gospel. Now that he said it, when was the last time you personally recruited somebody? You know, my last one I recruited had 51 points, right? In 3 hours. We ain't gonna talk about that. Would you be excited to have you on your team?
I recruited a guy a week ago, Al, and he's got 25 points. I mean, you know, you got, guys, people all the time say, how have you made millions of dollars, Presley? It's by showing the plan and 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 showing the plan, and get sick of showing the plan, but you keep showing the plan and showing the plan and showing the plan and showing the plan. Guys, that's if you want to make big money, all the other stuff's good, and we need some of it. I'm not saying we don't, but I'm telling you this, if you're not showing the plan, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Man, you said that right. You said a mouthful right there. I remember the months I was putting 8,000 IBOs in my team monthly, and people said, how you do? Just showing the plan.
That's it.
What's the secret? Showing the plan. There's no secret. It's just going through the same thing, showing the plan. It's like watching paint dry. It's nothing sexy about it. It's just what it is. Folks, when's the last time you showed the plan? Don't answer that. Let's get to the next question here. Thank you, Mr. Brian Baker. I think that, all right. Out of Japan, we got a question from Japan from Mr. Kinko and Mr. Payon out of Japan. We got two parts here. How do you lead and follow up on teams that are away from where you live in different states and or possibly different countries?
Well, that's a good question, you know, and I've been doing that ever since Al and I were back in the old Excel days, is you get people away from you. Back in the old days, man, I had conference call after conference call after conference call. I made phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call. And then, you know, once a quarter, however much I could get there, I'd try to go visit with them. Nowadays, thank the Lord, we got these Zooms. So you need to be doing Zooms with them. You need to be working with them on the Zoom. Still pick up the phone, call them every once in a while. I'm telling you, it's his personal contact that makes the most difference. I mean, if they can see your face on a Zoom, that helps. If they hear your voice on the phone, that helps. You know, I think so many times we get lazy and we just want to send texts or want to send emails, and there's a place for that. But text and emails more just, hey, just information, basically. You know, if I want to send something to the whole team about, hey, here we're having a Zoom Tuesday night, then I'll send an email out or something. But when I'm working with people, when I got a group that I'm wanting to work with and they're showing some promise, man, I am calling them all. I am Zooming with them. And when I can, I go see them. I mean, this is a team business, and they got to realize they're part of a team. Guys, think of it. We all, man, when we were back in elementary school and they were picking kickball teams, we wanted to be picked. We wanted to be part of a team. Well, this is what makes us feel part of a team, is when, at least with Zoom, we can look at each other's faces and we can get to know each other a little bit. We can hear our voice if we're calling people. When I'm driving in the car, guys, I'm doing one of two things. I'm either listening to a book or I'm on the phone calling people. I mean, that's just, you'll never see me in the car sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I'm either listening to a book or I'm calling people when I'm in the car. And we've got to stay connected to those distance groups. I mean, you got to stay connected the best you can. And like I said, how budget permits and how time permits and all that, try to go see them every once in a while.
Well, you know what? You said, you hit the nail around the head. In person. First thing you said is nothing beats in person. My goal has always been hit my solid top 5 or 6 areas every 30 days. Every 30 days or 40, that's a long time, 40, but every month I try to hit my areas where I had the 5 top or 6 or 7 production, because they needed that, because they were in production. And there's nothing like Mr. Swagger. There's nothing like in person. That's number one. Guys, I don't care. I love Zoom, but man, I got every 30 days, you should have that in person with those leaders. That's powerful.
Now let me throw another tidbit. I think
please do, sir.
People. Guys, you should be spending 80% of your time with the top 20% of your group. I think a lot of times we try to get down in the bottom, the guys that aren't doing anything or the gals that aren't doing anything. And I think we try to work down there, go, oh, I'm going to get them going. Guys, where your production is where you need to be working. Now, am I going to call those people every once in a while? Yeah, I'll call them every once in a while. Am I going to try to get them on a Zoom every once? Yeah, I'll try to get them on a Zoom every once in a while. But my focus is where my production is. I'm always working with the top 20% of my team, because they're where I'm making my money. They're where my potential to explode is, not trying to drag a dead body along that ain't done nothing in 6 months.
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, that's what you said with that Wednesday when you started us off in January. 80% of your time you should spend with those who are working. I wrote that down in my notes. 80% of your time should be spent with those who are working. Folks, you guys get that, write that down. 80% of your time is with your leaders. It's with your leaders. And every 30 days, that guy or girl should be coming back to your area to help keep the numbers going, keep that momentum going. You know, I think of James Clark on the call. I mean, I'm doing meetings for him 2 or 3 times a week now. And every time I look at the PBR, 7 to 30, 20, 30. Now they go down to Dean Durrelli's meeting and they take over the room because they're exploding down there. So you got to spend your time where the ones who deserve it should be. Good question. Okay, part 2 of that question. If you don't have the time to visit all your teams around the country or world, how do you decide which teams to physically visit on a regular basis? I think we just answered that part, Mr.
Yeah, I think that's it. You get with the ones that are giving you the most production. This is not if you need it business. This is if you deserve it business. Now, Understand, if you're just getting going and you only got 4 or 5 people, then it's a little bit different scenario. You're trying to help them all. But as your group gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you have to start picking who you're going to work with. And even if I got 5 people, my top producer out of those 5 people is going to get more minutes with me than the bottom producer out of that 5 people. So it scales, whatever your business looks like. If you just got a handful, you can give more of attention to all of them, but you still should give your top 1 or 2 people the most attention. I mean, and now if you get 40 people, then your top 8 people are going to get most of your attention. Whatever 20% is, then that is what I'm focusing on, and that's who I'm going to give the most help to.
Boy, that sounds like Mr. Agent O'Neill right there. Yes, sir. Next question by Jomar Sharp. How do you remotivate IBOs that are not excited? I don't mean to laugh, but anyway.
Well, here's my thought on that. It's easier to give birth than raise the dead. And I don't have experience at either one of those, but that I've heard that forever, and I believe that with ever fiber in me. Go find you somebody new. Now, every 2 months, can you call them and say, hey man, we're exploding. Just thought you might want to know. We just launched Impact. We just launched Truvy. This thing's going great. Just thought I'd let you know. I'm not saying you can't give them a call occasionally, but baby, I don't spend much time trying to raise the dead. I'd rather go get me somebody that's new and excited than, pull somebody out of a ditch. I mean, and again, we'd rather try to raise that dead body up and drag them along, because that way I don't have to recruit a new one. I don't have to get out of my comfort zone. I don't have to show that plan. That way I feel like I'm working, because I'm calling old Sally Sue up, and, she ain't done nothing in 6 years, but I'm going to see what I can do. And when I got a list of people here that I could make 10 calls to new people to schedule appointments, but I'll get Sally Sue on the phone and talk to her, and she ain't done nothing in forever. Guys, you got to understand. If they ain't working, they ain't working. Go get you somebody new. And again, I'm not saying every 2 or 3 months, give them a call maybe, but I mean, I ain't spending a lot of time working with dead people.
I love it. I love that answer. If they ain't working, write that down. If they ain't working, they ain't working. I also like what he said. I call them. How you doing? Hey, have you heard the new stuff? And then let it go. Either they'll come back around or let them go. My God, you can't raise the dead. Last one, the one I know came back from the dead. So why y'all keep, hey, got to keep going.
Yeah, and I love it. You'll learn. You can run with 1,000 easier than you can drag one.
So true, guys. You guys are getting it right from the gut. This is good stuff today. And the same principles worked 20, 30 years ago when Mr. Swag and I first met. They still work today. They're still the same doggone principle. Principles don't change, guys. Ladies, they don't change. And you just need to get in your gut, get out there, just show the plan, show the plan, show the plan, show the plan. Last night I showed the plan 3 times at 3 different plus our 1 to 10. 3 times last night. How many times you show the plan? Show the plan. New person just getting in, Mr. Swagley. What would you tell them? A new person just got started in the last week or so. What would your advice be to a new person just getting in the business in less than a week?
Well, my overriding philosophy on that is, if you want to make big money, we got to take massive and immediate action. That's my overriding thing. But, I'm going to start off. I want them to get 3 services so they can get qualified. I want them to get those 3 services their first day. I want them to get their storefront. I want their picture up there. I want their bank information in there. I want all that stuff. I want them to be fixed up. So we're going to get enrolled. We're going to get our storefront fixed up. We're going to get us 3 services minimum. And then we're going to start making a list of everybody we know. Day 2, I'm going to tell them to get 2 more services, because now they got 5. And what happens when they get 5? They're going to get a check. I say a check, it goes in their deposits, but they're going to make money. It's key that we get people making money that first 48 hours, I believe, guys.
That's right.
That validates the business to them. And, I always understand, guys, if I say anything that goes against what Al teaches y'all do what Al does, because, I'm certainly not trying to get anybody to do anything different than what Al teaches, because we can all stay in the same parameters and weave a little bit around in there. But if I ever tell you anything different than what your mentor tells you, you always do what he says. But, that's what I do. I get them. I get them signed up. I get them to fix their storefront up. I get them to get 3 customers. And guys, let's get real. I'm going off track here, Al, but you got to be your own best customer, guys. I mean, let's get real on this thing. You got to be your own best customer. I mean, when people get in and they go, well, I don't know about getting any of those services. Well, kiss a foot. My gosh. You know, I mean, I can't drive a Chevy and try to sell Fords. I mean, guys, it makes no sense. Not to mention, and I'll get people even say this, well, you know, that's 10 cents higher than what I'm paying now. Are you factoring in that if you'll get some customers, you can get 20% of that back? I mean, are you factoring in the potential of your organization? Are you factoring in anything? Or you just got so short-sighted that that 10 cents makes all the difference in the world to you? And hey, I came from no money. I was about to go bankrupt when I got this started. So I understand no money, but I'm telling you, you got to be young. I can't tell people about Flash if I don't have Flash. I can't tell people about Vivint if I don't have Vivint. I can't tell people about any of them if I'm not using them. Now, all that said, do I have every service? No, but I think Jeannie and I got 11 of them. I mean, get as many as makes sense, but you got to be your own best customer, because it's a whole lot easier for me to talk about Flash or Vivint if I can tell them how it works, how much I love it, than if I'm just trying to sell them something that I don't have a clue about.
That's so true. That's so true. I love what he said. I thought we're on the same page. My friend, we're on the same page, the same teaching. You know, the only thing different is funny. I'm sitting there saying, you said first 40 hours. My thing is get them qualified on the spot or in the first 24 hours. He at least goes 48 hours.
Well, no,
so
I say get those 3 and 24, but then the next day we're going to get those next 2. We got to get 5 in 48 hours. I mean, I want them to get money. Getting money.
That's right.
Is the key.
Like yesterday.
And you ETLs, RCs, RDs, RVPs, and SVPs, when they get those 3, that triggers your money if it's 7 points, guys. I mean, you know, it gets them qualified to make checks, but it also triggers your money. Now, I never put it in terms that, hey, get those so everybody can get paid. It's, hey, get those so you can get qualified. But just understand that we got to get money. Your organization has to have money flowing if you want it to be growing. If money ain't flowing, your group is drying and dying. I'm telling you that right now.
That's right. Gotta have that money flowing. Gotta have it flowing. Gotta have it flowing. I love it. Well, listen, we want to thank you for your time today. Give everybody a little bit of your background, so you know, because they don't. I mean, I know you didn't come from money, and I know where you came from, and everything you got. You and Jenny, you fought and clawed for, and you went out and made it happen, and now you're living the lifestyle you want to live. And I'm just thankful to call you a friend. But give everybody a little bit of background on yourself before we end the call, and we'll go from there.
You know, I'll tell you a little bit about who I am, then I'll give you a final thought. And Al, thanks for having me. I love coming over here. And I'll say this, if I forget, guys, if you see me at Elevate, come up and say hello to me. I'd love to meet you and get to know you a little bit. Al is a dear friend of mine. And like I said, he's been a mentor to me, and y'all are blessed to have him as your leader. I'm telling you, I think we take that stuff for granted sometimes, but don't. I'm telling you, you got the best of the best. I'm a high school teacher and a coach by trade. I don't do it anymore, but I taught and coached for 16 years, about starved to death. I loved it. I did it with a passion. I felt like I helped kids. I sponsored the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, but never made much money. Decided the Dallas Mavericks or Los Angeles Lakers or none of those NBA teams were going to call me. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and somebody showed me this essential service deal, and that it made all the sense in the world to me. People are going to use what we have, whether it's with us or not. And I'd always heard you wanted residual income. I just never got to experience it. So residual income and essential services is what brought me in. I started off like everybody else. I had no business partners, no customers. Took me, my goal was to make $1,000 a month. Took me a few weeks, but I got a check with a comma. I was all excited, but I used to go to church with a man named Zig Ziglar, and Zig would always say, go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll be able to see further. Well, guys, I literally grew up in the ghettos and then taught school, so money was foreign to me. We hit 1,000, my mind expanded a little bit, and I thought, you know, I might could get to 3,000. Well, we hit 3,000, and my mind expanded again, and I thought, you know, I think we might could get this to 5. and then 10, and then 20, and then 50, and then 100. And then, I mean, guys, when you may can only see $500 a month right now, and that's fine. That's back kind of where when I started. But you hit that 500 goal, you'll realize, hey, if I got a little more focused, I could make more. And guys, you'll just keep going. But I tell people today, and this is the gospel truth, that today, Jeannie, and my reality is better than our dreams used to be. I couldn't even have dreamed that life could be like this. I am a blessed man, and I give the good Lord all the credit. But, you know, it just really, this business boils down to just, are you willing to get out of your comfort zone and talk to people? Now, I'll say it again. I hope that all these faces I see on here, I hope all you guys are coming to Elevate, because, you know, I teach this to my team. You got to plug in. You got to get on the Zooms, you got to get to the local meetings, and baby, when they have a big meeting, a national meeting, an international meeting, you got to be there. And don't tell me that money, I understand. Let me say it again. I taught school, I had no money. But when I was going to see Al sitting behind him and he was talking about Rolexes, we were putting 5, 6 people in a car, sharing the gas. We were taking sleeping bags and sleeping 6 or 8 to a room. And we were eating off the dollar menu at fast food joints, guys. I mean, I understand sometimes you got to do it on a budget, but we need to be there. That's what changes our lives. But we got to plug in. We got to be our own best customer, and we got to show the plan. And I mean, that is so key. We got to do those things. If you're wanting to make money, you do those 3 things and watch what happens, guys. Your life can start changing. I'm telling you, it can. I'm a living example of it. But love you guys. Love you, Al. Can't wait to see you, man. We'll have to hang out some. And like I said, all you other folks, come up and say hello to me.